second shifters.
All right, here we go, everybody. Let's get to work.
This is no way to start your day.
The Alan Cox Show.
On 100.7 WMMS.
Get to the Poundcake sports break here in a minute. Mary went to the Black Keys the other night.
They're so good.
I mean, they do their thing. They do what they do. Pretty well. Looks like Pat Carney and Michelle Branch, they've
made up?
Well, they've paused their divorce proceedings. You know, she blew up his spot on Twitter a couple of weeks ago saying that she was filing for divorce because he had cheated on her with someone from his record management company.
Is he the drummer?
He's the drummer.
Okay.
And what a looker.
Dude, they were just very average middle-aged looking dads.
Yes.
Great voice. And that he was like a...
Pat Carney's nothing to look at.
He's kind of a hefty boy, too. And he, like, ripped on the drums for 2 straight hours. And he's not a small person.
Michelle Branch, who has a couple of kids from a previous marriage, she was married to a much older guy. When she was younger, they got married. And they were married about 15 years. And they split up. She and Pat Carney have been married for, I think, 3 years or something. I think they have at least one kid. They are suspending their divorce proceedings for at least 6 months while they participate in counseling services. And listen, I'll tell you, as somebody who went through this myself, before my ex-wife and I divorced, we went through counseling. And counseling can be a fantastic opportunity to mend your fences and figure out what needs to be fixed. Or it's equally a great opportunity to determine this thing's done.
I have zero interest in fixing this.
Well, because you kind of have to keep an open mind. You know, some people know going in, I'll go through the motions, but you can't do that either. Like when my ex-wife said, let's go, you know, we went to counseling or whatever. I was like, oh, I kept an open mind. And the counselor we had was clearly not team husband, right? Like I wasn't even imagining it. I was like, well, this isn't going to work. And, but we were pretty far beyond therapy at that point. But anyway, these two are going to go to counseling and may resume living together as husband and wife. Because, I mean, Michelle Branch, she's cute, but, you know, she's got tiny teeth. And she's probably out there. She's like, what's waiting for me out there? You kind of have to look and see what's in front of you. And
Starting those conversations again. What's your favorite color? Like people just don't want to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2 young kids together. But last month, she was very public about the fact that she was filing for divorce because she said he was stepping out on her. And she smacked him in the face, too, which a lot of people, oh, boy, they had fun with that. The men's rights crowd loved that. They're like, see? But she was the one that was arrested and booked for domestic assault because she slapped him in the face. Now, that means that he had to call the cops. And if your woman slaps you in the face, you ever been slapped in the face or punched by your woman, Bill?
I let the girl the voicemail girl, I let her kick me in the balls. That was the agreement that we had so that I could play the voicemail on the radio.
Whoa.
But she never, like, hit you while you were arguing.
No.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
He's saying, like, domestic
violence.
violence.
Not a deal
Yeah.
that you came up with.
That's only... That's only time that's happened. I think maybe slapped once. Had some water thrown on me, drinks thrown on me. But
I think
my ex-wife slapped me once, and that's about it.
I've had people try to stab me. I've been punched in the face. I've had multiple projectiles thrown at my head over the years. But if your woman slaps you and the cops show up, it's because you called the cops.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just, any woman who's a victim of domestic abuse will make it very clear, yeah, the cops just don't materialize to take care of the situation. That means that Pat Carney called the cops.
Is that a bitch move?
I'm not saying it's a bitch move because you don't know what's going on. She could have been throwing things at him. They got kids. Who knows? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you don't call the cops on yourself.
The officers get there and go, officers, my wife, she slapped me. And it's because I cheated on her, but she's out of control.
I did it respectfully, though.
She doesn't understand respectful cheating. Can you explain to her that I respectfully cheated on her?
I didn't have them in the house
or
in the bed or around our kids. I just would get hotels and use her credit card and
use her credit card. Great way to cover your tracks. Oh, I was using her credit card. Well, I mean, that's...
She has the best percentage. She has
lay out
her credit.
How exactly, like, what is the line for respectful cheating?
Once it comes into your regular everyday, like when it comes into your first life rather than your double life, then it's disrespectful. Don't bring them in. Don't bring the cheater into the house. Don't use your car to have them in your car. Meet them at a central location.
But a lot of times, a neutral location.
Neutral location. Sorry.
A lot of, but
a central location, right? In the
no, but a lot of times people don't plan for the two worlds to collide. If independent George and relationship George can't coexist, a lot of times those worlds collide of their own volition. So I'm not sure what the respectful part. Now, if you're talking about dudes who like bring a side piece to their house,
yes, that's what I'm saying. But
I don't know why anyone would do that.
The respect is having the decency to cover your tracks. That's mainly what
decency.
The decency to cover your tracks. If you're cheating and you're out here being sloppy, you really don't care if anyone out here sees you, like her friends, even if like your girl doesn't see you, her friends or family could see you out there. Like if you're out in the mall buying her shoes.
And this is the way that you would feel. Yeah, that's what got that, allegedly, that's what got that journalist in Vegas stabbed to death by that city councilman. You watch that case that's going on?
No.
The city councilman got photos taken of him and like somebody on his campaign staff. They were getting out of a car together and she was hiking her skirt back down or something, and some Las Vegas journalist wrote an expose on the guy, and the dude ended up stabbing him to death over it.
See?
Is this how you would feel if your husband did this?
It would be worth a conversation. I'm like, did you cover your tracks because you didn't want to hurt me? Or did you cover your tracks because...
Well, what do you think he's going to say? I didn't want to hurt you, darling.
Mm-hmm. That's why I didn't say I would believe him. It doesn't mean you're off the hook. I'm just saying it's worth a conversation.
But if it's respectful, why wouldn't you immediately be off the hook? Respect
because,
is all anybody's asking for.
Just because you admit to a crime doesn't mean you don't go to jail. It just means you go.
Well, then where's the respectful part come in? So even if you do it respectfully, you get no benefit from that, is what you're saying.
I would say more leniency. You would get leniency.
Leniency.
You get off on good behavior?
So you're saying
I really don't understand.
I think what he's saying is, in his mind, it's better than just wiling out and not giving a rat's ass what happens.
If you're trying to, cover up your tracks to not hurt your family, like if it's just a one-off, like I was very stressed out, this is what I do to blow off steam, I still want to be...
Right, but anybody who's being sloppy is not going to care if they do get caught.
You got to have a pharmacy.
They're not going to be working a pharmacy for what, your prep?
Yeah, just in case.
If you get burnt, if you got to get plan B.
Don't be going to our family doctor where we take our kids.
Right, but what I'm saying, but those are people who don't care if they get caught. So they're kind of off the table because they don't care. What I'm talking about is your husband stepping out and whoever that crazy side piece is shows up at your house. Your husband was trying to cover his tracks, so he didn't hurt you, darling. Mm-hmm. But this crazy sumbitch shows up at your house. So the respectful part, I don't know where the respectful part.
My husband was being respectful to me. How dare you show up at my stoop?
Oh, so it's his fault.
How he was being respectful. Now I got to fight you.
It's the side piece's fault.
I'll tell you what, given what he said, I can't believe Poundcake hasn't been snatched up. There have to be dudes out there going like, I'm going to have a great time with this guy.
Right.
That's right. You want to get proposed to. I can't believe they're not queuing up.
My husband didn't tell me about you because he was worried about my feelings. And now you're disrespecting him by disrespecting me, and I don't like it.
And that's the way some hetero women will do it, too. There are some women that will do that.
Just keep quiet like a side piece is supposed to. We don't need you in our life.
these are like Darman scenarios.
Dude,
Right.
for real.
Darman. You know what this has gotten me all worked up to do? Here's some sports.
Yes.
Only one man on this show that can satiate that itch.
Mary Santora.
Yes.
Are you ready, Poundcake?
I am.
Okay.
Play ball!
This is a Poundcake Sports Break.
In the headlines today, pro bull rider Unsie Allen is dead, but it's not from what you might guess. The 27-year-old was shot in a Salt Lake City apartment complex. Investigators are saying it was a domestic violence incident. Witnesses say shots were fired in an argument after leaving the state fair. Unsie, whose real name is Demetrius, was ranked in the top 25 of bull riders, but clearly he picked the wrong woman to put up with his BS. The one who got the last laugh, though, would be the bull, because right before Unsie died, Unsie saw red, and he didn't like it very much either. Also, a Las Vegas sex worker is offering a VIP discount to all Raiders players and staff. Her name is Ariel Ganja, and she's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed bombshell. Ariel, who belongs to the Chicken Ranch brothel, is offering a 50% discount as a thank you for bringing excitement to Las Vegas. Geez, sorry, Adele. I'm sure Ariel will have no issue with the players taking her up on the offer. There's just going to be a new meaning behind the name Raiders because Ariel's about to get ran through. And lastly, Minnesota Timberwolves player Anthony Edwards released a statement in regards to a story he posted on his Instagram of a group of shirtless gay men hugging, quoting, "Look at these queer N-words, these N-words just different." Indeed, we are, Anthony. And believe it or not, the queer community is not calling for him to be canceled, more looking for him to be counseled. I say he do 200 hours of cleaning up after our circuit parties. That'll teach him a lesson. We're here, we're queer, get used to it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes this Poundcake Sports Break.
Play ball!
This is a Poundcake Sports Break.
How about that?
I don't know if cleaning up after circuit parties is going to make anybody less homophobic.
Right.
Well,
You're not
it's
getting
better than
across
being
there, buddy.
canceled.
Oh, boy.
He put that on Instagram. I was like, wow, if a group of guys that are shirtless hugging each other outside a club, and then you just happen to creep and film them, if that freaks you out, then
It does freak a lot of people out.
how does that freak them out?
Because there's people that are just so...
There's a bunch of athletes that do that every day after a game.
Right, but then I saw
that's
the video,
manly.
and yeah, it's just people. There's still a lot of bigoted people out there.
You saw the video, isn't it funny though? Because I'm like, that's
But
literally.
why would you post that?
And said D's EEESE in words different. And he was like, bro, this is what I have to deal with every day. I'm like, where do
Right.
you live? I want to be your neighbor. You deal with that every day.
That Ouncie Mitchell, you call him Ouncie Allen, that's his real last name, but Ouncie Mitchell, that they found like the one, boy, you think bull riding needs some diversity. They found like the one black professional bull rider and his girl kills him. If you saw videos of that guy riding bulls, this cat was slick. You watch any of his videos?
No, I don't.
He'd just be riding these bulls, putting in his time, and they'd finally shake him off, and he'd flip midair and whip his hat off. And I was like, holy cow. I don't know much about professional bull riding, but you could absolutely get some showbiz with this guy. And his chick shot him dead. I'm curious where Ouncie Mitchell came from, though. His name's Demetrius Omar Latif Allen. I mean, obviously, you're hanging out with other bull riders. You're not going to go by Demetrius Latif. But I wonder where Ouncie Mitchell came from. But they had a little girl and, pretty wild. You see the whole Brett Favre thing, by the way?
Oh yeah, that's wild. Where he's stealing from
The welfare.
the welfare
in,
of Mississippi to.
What about Brett Favre?
What'd I tell you the first time we met? I'm a Niners fan.
Brett Favre might be in some trouble here. That, of course, from Something About Mary, where Brett Favre was the third choice for that movie, but he ended up getting the role. Farrelly brothers are from New England, right? They grew up in Rhode Island, lifelong Patriots fans. They wanted Drew Bledsoe. Remember Drew Bledsoe?
Oh, of course.
Preceded Tom Brady with the Patriots. So the Farrelly brothers, Something About Mary is 97, 98, around there. And they wanted Drew Bledsoe. He said no. And then they went to Steve Young, who I think was with the 49ers. But he was a Mormon. And he's like, it's the funniest script I've ever read. But it's R-rated. And I know all the Mormon kids are going to sneak in, and I wouldn't feel good about that. That was Steve Young's vibe. So then somebody was like, how about Brett Favre? Then, all right. But Brett Favre it's been a story for a while, but I guess now they have receipts. He was involved in a scheme with the former governor of Mississippi to use welfare money to pay for a volleyball stadium where Brett Favre's daughter played volleyball. $5 million.
He has money, though. This is what I don't understand.
I mean, I think this might be a different thing than the other story earlier, which was that he had misappropriated PPP money.
I think he did that too, yeah.
Yeah, he got COVID money. And so now they're like, Brett Favre had been denying that he did this. Well, now they have screen grabs of the text conversations where he's having a conversation with the governor, and he goes, if you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from? And the woman he was dealing with was like, I guess maybe she was with the university. He's like, no, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. He's like, okay, cool. And then she texts him that she just got off the phone with the governor, and he's on board. And he's like, awesome. So Brett Favre taking $5 million. You know, right-wingers like to talk about welfare cheats, right? It's one of their big talking points since the 80s. Welfare queens and welfare cheats. People who don't want to work. They just want to take from the government. And here's Brett Favre, who's a really rich guy, grabbing $5 million worth of welfare money in a state that is like the highest in everything, right? Mississippi, literacy, child poverty, general poverty, all of it. Brett Favre being accused of diverting $5 million in money meant to go to the poorest people in the state so his daughter can have a brand new volleyball stadium at University of Southern Mississippi.
And this is a guy that's probably made well over $100 million from football and endorsements and stuff like that.
It was about 6 or 7 years ago, a guy wrote a book on Brett Favre. He wrote an autobiography called Gunslinger. And it was a pretty glowing book. This guy tweeted out, please do not buy this book. Because Brett Favre is a massive scumbag, and I kind of knew it at the time, but I wrote a book that made him look good because he overcame obstacles, and he was kind of a funny guy. And the book did involve some gross stuff, but it was mostly positive. But he's like, first of all, who's going to go back and buy the Brett Favre book from 2016? If you didn't buy it the week it came out, you're not looking for it now. So the author's like, please don't buy this book that I wrote. If I'm being brutally honest, I'd advise people not to read it because he's a bad guy. Because you might remember when Brett Favre got caught up in those D-pick texts with that girl Jen Sturger.
Yeah.
I don't know if she worked for ESPN or whatever it was, but Brett Favre's always doing something shady.
You ever seen those Poundcake?
Yeah.
The Brett Favre D-picks?
Yeah.
It's not surprising he's stealing from, like, welfare with that mediocre.
But it's his. But isn't he from Mississippi? Like, it's his state.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Mediocre is mediocre. Ugh.
Man.
One of the poorest states, by the way.
Yes. Across the board. You're like colluding with the governor. They got a real brain trust there in Mississippi. They got this guy Tate Reeves now, who's the current governor, and this guy's a piece of work too. So the people of Mississippi know who they like running the show. And I can't imagine this is going to change anyone's minds in Mississippi about Brett Favre because he's like, well, he just took it from poor people. I mean, whatever. But it looks like he's in a bit of trouble, potentially. If only he hadn't spent that money on a volleyball arena, he could use it for legal fees.
Oh.
Dope. I got a break. You want to text 35192 to do that. Anywhere you are, you can fire up the iHeartRadio app and listen to us there.
The Alan Cox Show on 100.7